Do you think that we will die in Saginaw?
No.
You don't think this is our final spot?
No. Die? I think, you know what I think? And it's kind of sad. I think I don't know about you, but it probably is going to be the same thing. But I'm just saying that the fact that I'm probably going to die in Michigan.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something like, oh, like one of us, like, I thought you were going to say like, oh, this person's going to die first or something like that.
No.
Like,
I'm saying because, and it's not like that. I'm not shitting on Michigan. Michigan's tight. Before, like, I used to be like, I hate Michigan. But then now I just learned to like, man, Michigan's tight. Michigan's tight because it's calm, it's chill, it's relaxed. It's not like California. California is more hectic. The houses are more crowded. There's less space, and there's a lot more land over here, and everything's cheaper over here compared to California when you go to buy a house and shit like that. So I've learned to like Michigan. I like Michigan now. So it's not like I'm trying to shit on Michigan by saying I'm gonna die here, but it's just me saying that because I come from California, and my roots are in Stockton. That's just where it's at. And it will never change. Like Stockton is forever my home, and that's how it is. So to think of it like I'm probably gonna be buried here, it's not horrible thing because I mean where it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, and of course I would want to be buried wherever you guys are at just in case you guys want to come visit, right? Like that. That would make more sense, but it's just like, damn, how things have changed, huh?
Yeah, because I was just talking to this dude from work, and he was like, he's real adamant on moving to a big city. Like he don't want to stay in Michigan. He don't want to stay in Saginaw. And he was telling me like, you're gonna die in Saginaw. And I started thinking like, man, this nigga probably right, because we're like, I'm like, where would we go? Because ideally, and in a perfect world, right, we would have to move. I would like to be living within a few years somewhere a little bit more warm year round, because it seems I don't fuck with the snow. I don't fuck with the snow, and it's not good for Alex. So it'd be better to live somewhere where it's a lot warmer. But I don't want to live in a big ass city though. I don't want to live in heavy populated areas. I want to live somewhere like within a reasonable drive
to the city,
or
like but like damn near a farm. That's what I want. Like a damn near
with
just
shit ton of
acres, and it's empty, and then we can build on it as time goes on.
Yeah,
I think that's ideal. I think that'd be perfect.
But I want to be within a reasonable distance from a place that delivers pizza.
Food? Uh-huh.
Yeah, because you need to have delivery. If you live far where you got to drive, because one of the guys I work with tells me that he lives so far out in the country that you can't get delivery. So whenever you want food, nothing. Oh. So whenever you want food, you got to drive. It's 30 minutes to the nearest whatever.
Are you willing to sacrifice that though? For like a home out there with a shit ton of acres at a good price and everything matches up, and we have everything. Just the only thing we don't have is delivery.
Yeah, I probably would. Because it would be a healthy choice. Like even though fast food tastes good, it'd be
because we can always drive.
Yeah, 30. I mean, I guess it's just the 30 minutes. Like, right, driving 30 minutes to go get food is like not worth it, because you're driving 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back and 15 minutes.
I wonder if you could tell. Like, I wonder if you do live in the country or something like that, and you want food, right? And the closest McDonald's, say it's, I don't know, 45 minutes, and if you could tell the DoorDasher to meet you halfway. Yeah, like in another public building, like at a Buffalo Wild Wings or something that's closer to you, and it's like halfway. I wonder if you can do that.
It's I don't know. I think you'd have to like have his number personally,
because like the way it works, it works based on your location.
Now, so you can put your location as in. Like,
I don't know if you can do it. I
You
think
should be able
I
to.
think you can.
Yeah. And you
But I
just-
was gonna say, I was thinking like in my jailbreak days, I'm like, there's ways to spoof locations. So regardless, we can make it happen, and we can make it look like we're somewhere when we're not. So I was gonna say, if the app doesn't let you, you can do it that way, and
so you
so that
probably
way
can.
they're going through there, and you just meet up there, right? And he just says like order for whatever, because you can order to anywhere, to the hospital. You could be in the hospital and they'll come to the
They'll
hospital.
come, yeah.
So
Yeah, you probably can. Yeah, you probably can. I've told the kid that worked for us, he used to do DoorDash, and I would tell him like, hey, if I call you up and whatever time and you're not busy, you'll bring me food. He said he went like this for some money, and I told him if I bought you pizza and then I order pizza for me, you do it, and he said yeah, I'll do it. But so and he used to DoorDash, so I think if you had his personal number, you'd be able to do better deals, than to do it through the app. Because you'd be like, "Hey, I buy you food," or
Yeah.
"Hey, this or the other."
I was gonna say, and then if you know somebody, he'll drive out to the country if you want him to. Like if it's a 45-minute drive, he'll do it.
Yeah, you just
Because
have
it
to
would
pay
just
that.
it would just be on his personal time. You just have to make it worth his time.
You know that. Well, I'm not sure if this is every place, and I'm not sure if this is still a thing. But I've heard people say that a lot of places that where you're the delivery driver and they don't have like a company car where you drive the company car to make the deliveries, and you got to drive your own car, and they pay you gas and they pay you your check. I used to be like, damn, that's I'm not sure if that's worth it, because you're putting all this miles right on your personal car, and they're just paying you gas, and I don't think that's worth it. But I'm not sure how big that check is for gas and all that shit, because you're running nonstop.
Who pays
every
you
day.
for gas?
The company does. Like, let's say Domino's hires me to do the deliveries.
Oh, they pay?
Yeah,
Are you telling me
if
a
I
fact, or are you telling me?
No, that's for sure 100% has happened, and it probably still happens. I'm just not sure which companies do it, which don't. But where if you hire me, I'm using my personal car, and you're paying me my gas plus my hourly wage. That's how they do it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's worth it.
Depending on what type of car you have and if you care about it, to put miles on it.
Oh yeah, it's always nice to have a car that you don't give a shit about, because then it's like a workhorse type shit where you load it with whatever you want, and don't give a fuck. When I was driving my dad's, because I park every Saturday when I go to work, I'll park inside the shop, and that way all the snow melts and it doesn't stay outside in case it's snowing or whatever. And I went to go pick up food from Chelly's house, because I was giving food to the people on Saturday, remember? And
Yeah.
I went to Chelly's house and I freaking pulled out, and I didn't tell my dad. I was pulling out and there's I wasn't paying attention. I was pulling out and there's a trash can. I smacked that boy.
Hers?
No, my dad's truck.
No, I know, but her trash can?
No, at work. When I was,
okay.
I had back
What type
then,
of trash can was it?
it was like those steel freaking barrels. You know how people that like
The green ones?
You know how
The dumpsters? Is it a dumpster? A barrel is circle.
Yeah, it's like, you know how, just imagine this, right? Fallout, fire. Those barrels,
That's a circle barrel.
that's a barrel.
That's what I'm saying. They have that?
Yeah, those big barrel things, that's they use for trash cans. at work.
Inside, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, inside, and I smacked that motherfucker good when I was leaving. And then I thought because there was a shit ton of snow on the truck, it was just falling, and I had walked around, kicked it all off the running boards and everything. So there was chunks just in there. And then when I left, it felt like I just ran one of the chunks over, and then I hit that motherfucker again, because I hit it. I just barely nicked it the first time, and then it did one of the spins, and then it sat back down, and I smacked it again. And the second time I smacked it pretty good.
And nothing happened to the truck?
I looked at the truck. Shit looked fine. I didn't scratch it or nothing.
Anybody see you?
No. Nobody said nothing. There's nobody on that side of the wall. There's nobody there. So at least I didn't see anyone. But it was funny because I already smacked that cart one time when we went to the grocery store. And
Yeah, you already put a dent in it. What would you say is like is the worst car accident you've gotten into?
Well, the worst accident that I think that like where it could have been really, really bad was when I had the van. So my first year here in Michigan driving. So we've been here since I was 13. And the first year I drove, I think I was like 18 when I was driving, like on my own. I think I was 18 because Chelly used to take us everywhere. So I was coming home from work. This was my first. So I've driven in the snow before, but I've never experienced like sliding or black ice or any of that. So I was a rookie when it came to driving in the snow. And I thought that the cars would stop still. And my ass was coming here close to so right here in front of our house. So we live on this we live at at the end of how do you call that? So our house is in front of a stop sign, and then
So what is it, a crossroad?
yeah, so the stop sign you can no longer go straight. So it's either you turn left or you turn right. Right, and our house is in front of it. And so my ass was coming down our road, our crossroad, and it was fresh snow, and my ass was smashing, doing like 40, 45, right? And it's 25 here. My ass is just driving. And then I was probably like 2, 3 houses away from the stop sign. And so I'm like, I better start slowing down. So I start slowing down, and then the shit starts sliding. I was driving the van, the shit lock up, and then I'm just gliding, and I'm like, oh shit. And then you could feel the ABS pump kick in, and fucking pedals start, and my ass, I don't know what to do at that time still. So I don't have no previous experience on working on cars, none of that shit. So I don't know. I have no idea of what you're supposed to do when you're sliding and shit. You like, my ass just got scared and just held the brake down, and I started pumping in, and I was trying to control my ass because I was trying. The house is right in front of our living room. I'm heading straight into our living room, right? Doing like 30. And I'm like, so our neighbor's house is decently close to us. And I'm like, it's either going to be our house or his house. And I'm like, well, there's a little gap in between both our house. Not a little gap, but a good sized gap. And then there's a tree in the middle. So I can't miss. I had to hit the tree or else I'm hitting a house. So my ass is like, I'm going to hit this house. I'm going to hit this house. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to try to hit the tree. So somehow, luckily, I hit the tree. And I was doing I wasn't wearing a seatbelt either or nothing. But I'm not thinking of any of that shit. I'm just trying to make sure I don't hit a house. And so who knows I can't check if cars are coming because my ass is running the stop sign. And I knew, I knew I couldn't stop. That was me being dumb though, going that fast. But I smacked the tree, doing like 30, and the whole front of the shit caves in. And so I just I'm lucky that there's no airbag on that motherfucker, or it didn't deploy at least, because I had both my hands on the shit, and I smacked that bitch, boom, and I went forward, and the thing hit my chest, the
steering wheel
hit my chest, my head hit the top thing, and then all you see is freaking steam, because all the radiator and all the coolant went everywhere, and then I'm like, fuck, like my dad's gonna be mad, because we didn't have another car, we only had the van, that was all we had. Well, he had his car, but I was driving the van to work, so I didn't have a car to go to work anymore. And then I get out the car, like I'm good. Nothing happened to me, no scratches, no bruises, nothing. My head hurt a little bit, but that was it. And I'm like, oh, this is effed. The whole front of the shit's caved in. And then a dude in a truck he's seen the whole thing. He's just cruising by, and he's like, he rolls the window down, and he's like, hey man, you all right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want me to call anyone? And I was like, nah, I live here. I was like, nah, I live here.
And what'd he
And
say?
he's like, oh, all right. And then he left. I was like, now thinking back at it, it's just funny. Because I'm like, yeah, I live here.
Yeah.
But then I went inside and I told my dad was sitting on the couch. And I told my dad, hey, I got bad news. And he's like, what? What'd you do? And I was like, I crashed the car. It's effed. It's in the front. I crashed into a tree. And he's like, he thought I was fucking with him because he's like, I didn't hear. He was sitting right in front of the window that I would have hit if I chose to hit. Like if I could, somehow I was able to control it and I hit the tree. But I was heading straight into the living room where he was sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, and when I went inside and I told him, he thought I was bullshitting him. And I told him, yeah, I crashed it. I was like, come look. And then he went outside and he seen it. And he just shook his head and he's like, what were you thinking? Like, well, you could have got hurt this and that. And then he's like, well, ni modo. He's like, oh, well. And then that was it. But he said, I didn't hear nothing.
Yeah, because I didn't hear nothing either. I was there too. I remember when you came inside and you said you crashed. And I'm thinking like, oh shit, he just crashed like a block away. You crashed into a tree a block away and you ran back. That's what I thought. Because the way it seemed, I was like, that's what it seemed like. Like you ran a block down here and you to tell us. So I'm like, oh, all right. So when I went outside and I seen the van right there, I'm like, what the fuck? The van's right there. And I just looked and that shit was like totaled from the front. And I'm like, damn. And then it was all messed up that we had to totally, we had to, what do they call that? We had to sell it to the junkyard.
Yeah.
Because it was all fucked up.
Yeah, we scrapped it. We had the guy come pick it up, but they paid us like $500.
And what van was that?
It was like a Ford freaking Windstar.
It was a cheap ass van?
Yeah, it's like a 2002.
Because we would buy vans all the time, huh?
Yeah. The van was like, it seemed like we always owned the van forever.
All the time, huh?
But I think it's just because of its space. It's like spacious and it's cheap. So that's why.
Back in the day, huh? You used to be able to buy a car for like $300, $400. You remember that?
From where? Oh,
I would get vans for $200, $300.
It's because of what I think he, I don't know where if he was like getting them from an auction place. I don't remember where because he told me.
No, some people would sell them for $200 or $300. And I remember, and he would buy them and then he would flip them sometimes and fix them up a little bit and then sell them.
Yeah, I think that's why my dad's the reason why I started working on cars. Because he told me I was like 18 and he was I remember just being, when I was young too, he would have me like hold a light for him when he would do like new wiper blades or whatever. When he did wiper blades, when he did anything underneath the hood, even though my dad has very like basic knowledge, he would just my dad's always been like, let me try it myself. Right? Like, let me attempt it because is this going to be expensive if I take it into a shop? So let me attempt it first. So whenever, I don't care if it takes me all day, I'll sit there, try to figure out how to do brakes, but I'll figure it out. That's what my dad always did. So my dad told me one time, because I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I was cleaning cars at the Ford dealership here in Saginaw, and I was already in a shop, and my dad's like, "Oh, talk to the mechanics, and they make good money." And I talked to those dudes, and everyone told me, "Don't do it. It's not worth it." Say like, it's the pay's not that good, and it's really hard on your body. Do something a lot easier, right? But I've always had I don't know when I started, but I've always had an interest in old school muscle cars. I'm not sure that's from like Fast and Furious, the first one.
Yeah.
If that's why when I watched that shit back in the day, I don't remember what it was, but that's the reason why I started doing it. And I think it's crazy beneficial to have somebody in your family be able to fix shit, because shit's gonna break down. And I see how much we be charging, like companies. Every dealership, it's not just our dealership. Every dealership charges like $150 per hour, and that's just standard. And I'm like, we're working on on a diesel. Like some dude blew his head gaskets or whatever. We're putting head gaskets on a diesel, and just for the repair, 10 G's.
Damn, that's
And
hella money.
that's for like diesel trucks. Shit, if you don't have money, because those motherfuckers when their parts are expensive already as it is, but for any big repair, it's gonna be a good amount of money, especially head gaskets.
And why is that?
Because you gotta tear a shit ton of, like, I got a picture of I'll send you a picture so you can put up of how we have it. And it's torn, everything's torn apart. So you got the cab up in the air, the frame and the bed, everything's sitting on the floor. We got the cab up in the air, everything's torn apart. And it's a big job because there's a lot of hours, there's a lot of cleaning, and it just takes a long time. And not a lot of people do it. And so shit's expensive. But that's why having somebody that can fix shit,
it's important.
It's hella important. It's beneficial. So,
especially because cars is dangerous, huh? Cars is hella dangerous. I think we underestimate how dangerous cars are because we get in them every day and it's just normal. But like the only thing separating me and the person from oncoming traffic on the Lex lane is a little yellow line, and I'm expecting that person to be on sharp and stay in his lane, and he's expecting me to stay in my lane. But if you just turn it like that, boom, collision.
And imagine, because there's crazy motherfuckers everywhere, right? There has to be. And if one guy just decides, man, like I'm done with this life, or F that guy, right? And especially if you every whoever's driving the bigger car is usually the one that's gonna survive, depending on how hard they hit. Because look at a semi driver, right? As someone who's driving a semi, if you get in his way, you're at.
So, bro.
You're at. I seen a video of not a video, a photo in here in Saginaw. I guess, like, I don't know if it was last week or when it was, but there's a car that's like somehow smashed into a semi. And the car is effed, and the semi is
fine. Huh?
Yeah, but it was a little car.
Yeah, because it's crazy the amount of trust we have on one another when it comes to cars. And but going back to like cars are hella dangerous, because I remember one time we had a van and I was going to work, and this was years ago. I was I don't know, like 16, 17, something like that. And I went to work, and on my way home, I was hearing like a rattling sound from like the left side of the car. And I heard it and I was like, that's abnormal. So I'm like, that's weird. So when I get home, I'm gonna tell my dad to check it. Cause back then I don't think you were like full on mechanic like you are now. So when I got home, I told my dad, hey, the van's rattling like in the front left side. And I don't know, it's weird. He's like, all right, then I'll check it out. So he went outside and he checked the van, and he's like, everything's good. And I was like, you sure? Because it's rattling. And he's like, yeah, it just must be something else. But everything, like, it's not like a loose part or nothing. So then I was like, oh, all right then. And the next day I went and I was driving and I was hearing the rattling, but it was like, it was the same as yesterday. It was subtle, like not that bad. And when I'm driving, I'm listening to music. And I'm driving, I'm probably like maybe like 15 minutes away from where I work. And I'm driving, and then I'm hearing the rattling, and I'm hearing it louder because now I'm hearing it over the music. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, I lower the music down, and I'm still driving, and I'm driving on an empty road, and I'm just hearing the whatever. And I'm like, my dad said, ignore it, right? It's nothing. I had the trust in my head, like, it's nothing, because my dad already checked it and it was nothing. So I'm still going. And all of a sudden, it's like, and it gets super loud. And then all of a sudden, the front left tire fucking flew off the van. Literally flew off. And when it did that, the van went like this, and it just started sliding. And immediately I don't know why, when it comes to like situations where you have to act immediately, especially when it comes to cars, I've always been lucky, or I have good instincts, because I immediately, it went boom, and I immediately grabbed the wheel, 2 hands like this, and I didn't hit the brakes or nothing. I rolled it out. And I rolled it out because there was a ditch right there. And I was afraid that if I hit the brakes, it would flip, or it would change the direction I was going into the ditch. Because there was a ditch, it was probably like, I don't know, 10 feet. So I just like, I gotta slide this motherfucker. So when the tire flew off, it just was like, and it just slid for a pretty far distance. I don't even know how many feet, but I don't know, probably the size of a house. Like we're a house lot, probably like that far. So when I slid, I just hold the shit on and I rolled it out, and I ended up close to the ditch. Like I was damn near on the side of the road, kind of like if I pulled over to the side of the road. But I just rolled it out, and then I ended up in that spot. And then I got out the car, and then I just laughed. Every time I'm in like situations like that, for some reason I'm alive, I just laugh like, damn. And I hopped out the car, and I seen what the fuck, where's the tire at? But I seen something fly, but immediately I didn't know it was the tire. Like, because it was just so quick. So when I got out, I seen and there was no tire. And I went to go see, like, oh shit, it went into a cornfield. And the cornfield was probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet tall. So I'm like, I kind of like, I was like, well, let me go check. And but when I was walking over there, a lady, I guess, seen the whole thing, because I passed her house, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, you want me to call the cops? And I was like, no, I already got people coming. Because at that time, I didn't have a license or anything. And I was afraid that the cops were going to come. And, well, I went and I like looked in the cornfield like very quickly. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to find this shit. And I came back because I was like, I need to get somebody here. I'm like, that lady's going to call the cops on me. So I pick up the phone and I call our cousin, and I told him, he answers, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be late to work. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because the tire just flew off the van I have. And he's like, he chuckled a little bit, and he's like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, you have a flat tire? And I was like, no, the front tire flew off the van. And he's like, nah, he's saying that. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and he's like, hold on. And he's like, he was telling his dad, hey, Mehmet says that the front tire of the van flew off while he was driving. And his dad was like, nah, the tire didn't fly off. He probably just got a flat or something. And in his head probably is like, he's a kid. Like, what the heck does he know? Yeah. But I'm like, I'm telling him like, no, the fucking tire flew off the van. And he's like, where you at? And I told him the crossroad where I was at. And he's like, all right, I'm on my way. And I was like, all right, good. And they came there and they pulled up and they seen the van. And they're like, what the hell? They were like, oh shit, you weren't lying. There's no tire. And me and my cousin went into the fields to go see if we could find the tire again. And we couldn't find it.
That motherfucker's gone.
It was hella gone. I don't even know where it's at.
Yeah. The farmer probably found it after he came and like cleaned all the corn up.
He's probably like, what the hell?
He's seen a tire. Yeah.
Yeah. So they seen how far I like skid from the car, and they were like, damn. And that's another time where like, I'm surprised nothing happened to me. But we just put on the spare. Luckily, every car has a spare. We put the spare on, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'm going to work. Let's go to work.
Because I'm trying to figure out what happened, right? Because if you were able to put a new tire on, that means you still had the studs there. So the lug nuts must have flew off. Or I'm surprised, like how'd you did you take any, did you look to see were you there when he put the new tire on?
Yeah.
Did you see where he got the lug nuts from?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they stayed on the nuts. I'm not sure if they stayed on and somehow the tire flew out, or I'm not sure if he took some from the another tire. But I didn't see him do that. So I think it stayed on.
He could take, you could take
like 2 from one.
Well, you take one from the other 3, yeah. And you run off 3. and you'd be fine.
Yeah, but I don't remember him doing that, and I don't remember us putting another nut on the rest of them. So I don't know. I don't know.
I was trying to figure out how, like how, because if your tire falls off, because the majority of the tires are the rim, unless somehow the rim broke or something, but then you would still have piece of the rim. Because I've seen people on videos, certain cars, when like I'm not sure if they hit something, I don't remember, but they were able to pull the rim off, and the center piece was all cracked and it was stayed in place. And I'm like, how the fuck? What the hell did they do? But I don't know. I don't know how, because those.
Yeah, because what was wiggling? It must have been the tire doing this.
Yeah, because it wasn't tight. Maybe it was loose.
It kept smacking on something.
It had the lug nuts had been loose, and the whole tire flew off. And then you just slid, and you just, on the rotor, and you just slid for however long. And he probably just put the spare in there, took lug nuts from the other ones.
But you would think they would damage that. What do they call that? The wheel, that little thing that holds the wheel. Because it slid on it.
The rotor is the thing that you would just freaking, it would have landed on the rotor.
Yeah.
But those motherfuckers are strong. It's gonna get fucked up. But did you probably heard, like, when you hit the brake, you didn't hear any grinding when you took off, or it was clean, like nothing happened? You don't remember?
No, I don't remember a problem. I was running fine. But I was surprised at just how everything happened, and we just put a new tire on, and we were rolling again. And I went to work like nothing. I went to work like nothing happened.
You weren't worried on the way home?
No. I've never, like...
My dad always told me. My dad, from when I was young, he always told me. He tells you the car always lets you know. He would always tell me that shit all the time. He said it's rare. It does happen, but it's rare when something where you, unless it's like a tire or something, but he said the car, you would always warn you before you break down for the most part. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? And he'd be like, it always make a noise. It always make a noise to let you know. And if you ignore it and it continues to get worse,
that's when bad shit happens.
Yeah. Huh? And so like if a car's leaking, you'll see it, right? And if a car's making a noise, you'll hear it. And if you choose to avoid it, like to ignore it, I mean, and it gets worse, then that's when shit breaks down. And like when people, a lot of you know how I be buying a lot of Equinoxes and selling them and stuff, just strictly Equinoxes.
Yeah,
it's because they're really easy to fix. The parts are cheap, and a lot of people like to drive them. But people don't, for whatever reason, like to change their oil. Like they'll run more, like they'll do like 5, 6, 7,000 miles before they decide to change their oil, when you should be changing your oil every 3. I always tell everyone every 3. You can't go wrong with every 3,000 miles.
Yeah. And you would think, because it's so easy. How much does it cost to change oil? Oh, maybe I'm tripping. Because after you pay for the oil, and depending what oil you get, you could run up to like $80 to $100. Huh?
Yeah, if you get the good quality oil. But a lot of places,
I remember it being $20. Is that true?
Yeah, because back in the day, like this was like 6 years ago. That when I would just buy what's on, I would go to AutoZone and I would buy whatever average the promo for the month or whatever. They'd have a sale or some shit, and it would come with the filter. It'd be like $28, filter included. But that's me using whatever was on freaking special for the month. Now, like I mean, you can, so long as you're changing your oil, I guess it's fine. But so long as you're doing it every 3,000. But when it's on my personal car, I always put the good shit in there.
And what is that? So people know.
I always put Valvoline. I put Valvoline depending on whether or not what year car you have and what mileage you have. Because if you have a newer vehicle, a lot of the oils are full synthetic. And when I get for like my dad's truck, I get the Valvoline, and because we don't have more than like 80,000 miles on it, it's got like 40 something. I always put just the regular Valvoline. I forgot what the hell it's. It just takes a 020 whatever, but it's just the Valvoline grade or brand oil. And for the red truck, I get the Max Life one, which is in a red container. It's still Valvoline, but it's Max Life is meant for vehicles with higher mileage, because they depending on how many miles you have, certain oil brands will put certain additives to help with cars that are more ran through. They'll put additives in it specifically for higher ran motors. For like I think it's just to clean them better. Um, but I always put Valvoline whenever it comes to our personal cars. I always use Valvoline because
regardless of the year, regardless of whatever.
Yeah.
And is that brand like more expensive normally?
It is more expensive because it seems like it's never on promotion. At least where I always buy it. Every time I buy it, I always buy it at AutoZone because I get points through there. So they give you money towards.
So you recommend everybody to. You think it's worth it to pay the extra money for your car, regardless?
I feel like.
Like, do you recommend to everybody like it's worth the money?
I would say I would not. I'm sure there's better stuff than Valvoline. I know there's way better grade, but it's just way more expensive. It's not worth it because I feel like if I feel like everyone should be able to do routine maintenance to their own car. So because taking it, look, nowadays shit's too expensive, and it's way better for nobody's gonna take care of your car better than you are because you're paying for the motherfucker. So if you can do your own oil changes, it'll save you a shit ton of money. You are gonna have to pay. You can buy better grade oil because I'm sure the oil that the places use where people get a lot of oil changes, they buy it in bulk, and it's usually like just standard. It's standard grade oil. It's not like high end shit. I'm not sure exactly what they be putting in there, but I know they buy it in bulk. And when you buy your own oil, you know exactly what you're putting in there, right? And you can do it and save yourself a good amount of money. And you'd be able to see. I think when you get familiar with vehicles, at least slightly, it'll help you pick shit up when something's not right. Your car's not running right. You see something leaking. You can prevent certain repairs that you wouldn't have to do later on. Because if you're leaking oil, right, if you fix it from the beginning, it's a lot easier to tell where shit's coming from when you don't let it just continue to leak for a long ass time. Because then as you drive it and shit gets everywhere, it's hard to really tell where the hell it's coming from. So you got to clean it or put dye in it to really know where the hell it's coming out of. But if you're leaking, like for the new trucks, some of the new Silverados, I don't see them anymore, but like 2021, 2022, the pickup trucks, the 1500, they had this issue with the oil cooler lines where they would blow, and because the oil cooler lines are like they're a good size, they're probably like a quarter size, like a size of a quarter as far as thickness, and the little crimps on them, they'd blow, and it would just gush. The motherfucker would just gush
everywhere,
oil everywhere, and it probably within about like I'd say probably like 20 seconds. I'd say 20. I never seen this happen, but I would imagine this shit would be pumping oil really a shit ton of oil through there, especially it'd probably be like 20 seconds, 40 seconds, something like that, and your shit would be empty. And cars will let you know, like especially all the new cars, lights will come on, low oil pressure. It'll give you a message like turn vehicle off, and some people don't give a fuck. They'll still run it, right? They'll still run it,
and that's how they fuck it up.
And then they'll seize the motor up without no oil. And I remember a story of the dude that trained me originally from Burr Watson. He told me that when he was younger and he first started doing this shit, he did an oil change on a customer's car, and he forgot to put oil in it.
What the hell?
And so he put the filter on there, right? Drained the oil, let it down. And then I'm not sure if he walked away for a second or whatever, but he came back, started the motherfucker up, and then he took it, drove it out of the shop, took it to the front of the dealer to park it, and the motherfucker shut off on him. Right, and a lot of time, because usually when the motors run without oil, you're on a timer. Because if there's no lubrication, shit will seize up, and if you get the crank to seize, chances are he's theft. But he said that he pushed it back in, pulled the spark plugs out, put some oil in it, let it sit for a little bit, and then just turned it by hand with a big ass breaker bar. Just kept fucking with it, and eventually it turned. And
got unstuck.
Yeah, it got unstuck, and then he put a little bit more oil in it, like filled it up, whatever, and then ran it, and he said it ran fine. And I'm like, well, then I never seen one where it seized up like that and then it unseizes. But I have talked to certain people, and they have said that it is possible, and sometimes you can get them to free up, but it's rare.
But you think that fucked up that dude's car? Like, not fucked it up, but like...
It probably did damage to it.
Yeah, damage to it.
It probably did do damage to the bearings because they when they lock up, they rub metal to metal. So I'm sure there was a little bit of damage, but I'm not sure. I don't know shit about shit enough to be like, oh, it would cause,
such.
premature, whatever.
But cars are pretty tough, huh? They're pretty tough.
Yeah, but I would recommend people to
change
at
their
least
oil.
change their oil, because changing your own oil save you money, and you get to choose what you put in there. You get to choose what you put in there. It save you money. You get a little bit more familiar with your car, how it looks underneath, how it's supposed to look when she's leaking. I don't know, it just seems beneficial at least to change your oil.
So like, what's one more thing that's like that you recommend everybody to do when it comes to cars? Something that you can do that will prevent you from your car fucking up.
They sell because it's different for every car, right? Certain cars are prone to remorse, like those Equinoxes. The older ones specifically too, like 2012, 2013, they burn oil. They're known for burning oil, and when they say burning oil, it's GM acknowledges that cars are going to burn a little bit of oil, but there's so much oil. I think they say half a quart in the length of an oil change, so it's like 2,000, 3,000 miles, a half a quart is fine. I think that's what the GM says is within specifications. But these motherfuckers, some of them be burning like 3 quarts, 1,000 miles, be 3 quarts worth of oil, and so you got to put new pistons in it to fix that issue. But people don't understand that if you don't do consistently oil changes for your cars, that oil, it sludges up, and then once it dries, it just gets the inside of your motor all nasty. So I've seen there's this lady that came in the other day. We were working on her car. She had an oil leak, and we were just fixing the oil leak. And when I took the cover off the motor, shit was clean. And the reason why she did that, or why it was like that, is because she adds this
You're talking about the inside of the motor?
Yeah. So
you took it apart?
You just took the cover off the top.
Oh, okay.
So you just took the cover off the top, and you get to see the top of the motor, and it was clean. It was just a valve cover. We took the valve cover off, and it looked clean. And the reason why it was clean is because ever since she bought the car, she's been adding this little BG. It's a BG. It's a product that they sell to add to your motor every oil change that she does, and it's meant to. It's like it looks like oil. You just pour it in there, and it has a bunch of additives that help clean all the
inside of the motor
shit that gets in there. Yeah, and because she does that every oil change, her shit look clean.
So it's basically fabuloso
Yeah, but for the motor,
for the car.
'cause the shit look clean. And for my dad's car, I'm like, I've never done anything like that. Right? I never done anything like that. The only thing we do for my dad's truck is fucking oil changes every 3,000. So
And
and tire rotations, but um that little BG shit actually works. So
is it cheap?
shit's like it's probably like $20 for a can, $20-$30.
And a can is for one use.
Yeah. But I would even the one for the fuel, there's they make this bottle too that you add in your fuel tank. Based on how much gas is in there, they have a little guide thing in the back that says half a tank at this much or whatever. That shit work good too. And that's to clean all your injectors and stuff. Make sure that all that sooty shit gets cleaned up and burnt and spit out. So if you can afford it, that little BG shit, the shit works.
And what's the difference of having a sludgy motor and a clean one? It's just gonna run better.
It just runs a lot cleaner. Like
cleaner as in how?
Cleaner
like,
is because the parts
smoother.
It's just like when something's moving like this, right up and down. If there's a bunch of shit that's covered with it, it's not gonna move as smooth as it would.
It's like more force.
No, it's just like when you. It's like, you know how when you have your bike and you grease the chain, you grease it,
yeah,
and it's or you clean it. It's like a dirty chain. You clean it or you grease it, and it's a lot smoother. When you pedal, you feel it. It runs a lot cleaner.
Yeah,
there's no. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
You're just cleaning all the sludgy, all the dirt shit that shouldn't be in there, so that the parts can move the way they were designed to move.
I don't know if people would want to do that though, because you said it's like $20 on top of the oil that they had to buy, and then and the same thing for the fuel shit. It seems like it would be like every oil change, depending on what type of oil you're getting, right? It would be like over $100 easy, and a lot of people are like, that's too much.
Yeah, shit is a good amount of money, but I like even for our car, I wouldn't do it I wouldn't do it if you can afford to do it. Shit's beneficial, but if you want to do it every once in a while, it still work. It's still better than
never doing it.
But even just changing your oil consistently, it's good. It's if you want to prolong the life of your car. But like the blue truck that my dad has, or my truck, the blue in the Canyon, that we haven't changed the oil for that motherfucker in like 9 months.
Why?
Because I tell my dad, hey, so when I did the oil changes,
because he don't run now.
When I did the oil changes for all the other cars, I bought it. So I still have the oil. I have the filter. I have the oil in the garage. And I told him, hey, I'm gonna change the oil for the blue truck. You gonna need it? And he's like, yeah. I might go in today for the snow or whatever. And then I'm like, all right. He's like, don't worry about it though. I don't even drive it enough because he just works down the street or whatever. He's like, don't worry about it. We'll do it a different time. But it's been forever.
Yeah, but in reality, how many miles? It's probably not even 3,000. You think so? Occasionally we drive it to a certain place or whatever, but
yeah, we probably haven't put 3,000 miles on it, but we probably should. It's either 3,000 or 3 months, whatever comes first. That's what's recommended. But I should change it. I will change it, but it's just that truck has been through so much already, and it's like I don't like putting money into it anyways.
But that seems fucked up though, because that truck is reliable.
I tell my dad, like, this truck has been through a lot with us and it's never let us down. It's let us think it left you stranded at one time.
But it was time though. It was already like, and it was only the transmission. Once you fix that, it was up and running perfectly again. And it's still running perfectly. So I just feel like a car like that, it's almost like an emotional attachment you have to the car, because it's never failed you. That car has been to Mississippi, back and forth. It's been hella places.
Went to California. It went to Mississippi a few times. And then it's been to Carroll. We took it to Carroll for the longest time.
Yeah, that's a good ass car. So before we go, one thing and we'll finish it. Last thing, like, what's your biggest fear?
Well, I wouldn't say is my biggest fear. I just one thing that I am that I've always known that I'm scared of, but it's like I'm not scared of it. I'm not sure how to explain it, but um, the ocean. Like the thing that would be scary is being in the ocean when I'm in like when I'm on in water in like a lake or uh even if I was like in the middle of the ocean and I the scary thing is not being out there and I can swim. So that I'm not scared of drowning. The thing that I'm scared of is like not knowing what's underneath you.
Like me, I would say the same thing because now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty scary. But I would be scared if I was in the ocean alone. I would be more scared. But if I'm in the ocean in a boat with 10 people, then I wouldn't be as scared if I'm by myself. And it's because it's just you and your thoughts. And like you said, the unknown. And I've heard of like stories about back in the day of Vikings who swore they seen giant like sea monsters and it would destroy their whole boats and shit like that. And there's huge stories that there's sea monsters in the ocean. And right in like I don't know how because the ocean is unexplored, huh? Like a huge percent of like 80 or 90%, something like that. I don't know how much they've explored, but who's to say that's not true, huh? Because the Vikings, they were traveling like a motherfucker. Do you like? I don't know for a fact, but do you think the Vikings traveled more of the ocean than we did?
No.
No way.
No, because there's boats that go back and forth.
I don't mean like in total. I mean like across the ocean, like fucking. You know how it took days.
Oh, they took months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know,
like
if it would take
yeah. Like that's what I mean. Like those trips across the ocean into the other side. That's what I mean. Not like average going here back and forth. I'm talking about like those trips because who takes those trips?
And
maybe like huge.
And they were not protected. Like when nowadays everyone is protected. Like when a boat goes out to sea, there's a you can go inside a like you can be outside like the people who do the freaking deadliest catch shit whatever how they're outside like you can be outside but they can always come back inside and those Vikings they there's no going back outside there so
and they had no lights they had nothing
no electricity so they were out there and then in pitch black because I'm sure it gets freaking black.
I'm pretty sure they had something probably they light fires or something and then every once in a while a torch or something.
I don't know.
Because how they navigate the ocean in pure black?
The moon. I think they use the moon or the stars or the sun. They had to use something. They had to use the stars or they had to use something. I doubt I'm sure the first, but I want to imagine the first people who sailed out to the ocean. Because for the first time, I'm sure there were stories of like there's nothing like that world ends type shit and you fall and somebody's like, well, let me go find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell no. I would never do shit.
But back then, maybe who's to say they weren't forced? Like they're motherfucker, right. You go. There's somebody who's already looked down upon, and they're like, get on the boat and go. Just so we see what happens to you. But yeah, the shit that I think about is like you never know. Like being in the middle of the ocean where you can't see land in any direction, pitch black by myself. I think that's scary. That's a fear right there. If I had to think of anything, because I can't really think of anything like that's super scary, but I think that's scary. And that's scary based on the unknown. Because it's right. How do we know anything could pop up and just fuck you up? That's more scary than anything. And even just like knowing that there's sharks and shit. And if you fall or if you tip over, and then especially when it comes to storms. Those motherfucking Vikings was gangsters.
Yeah, because I drowning, I don't want to die drowning. It just seems like that would be, it would suck to go like that.
I remember in the Viking show when they were like, I think it was Bjorn who asked Ragnar. He was scared, and he's like, maybe it was Ivar, but he said to Ragnar that he was scared. He's like, what if I drown? Because he's handicapped. And he's like, what if I drown? And he's like, there's worse ways of dying than drowning. Like, don't worry about drowning. Like he made it seem like that ain't shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, because everybody fears drowning. The worst ways to die. What do you think is the worst way to die?
I would say like I would just think painful. Anything that's painful, so I would say getting lit on fire. You know how they burn women for thinking that they're witches.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
But when you're on fire, you actually pass out. You pass out within like I think a minute and 30 seconds.
But that's a
minute and 30, like within a minute you pass out. I'm saying a minute and 30 just to be safe, because you can't breathe.
Oh, so you suffocate?
Yeah, so you pass out. Oh. And then after you pass out, you're burning, and once your heart reaches a certain temperature, like it fucking goes off. But so that's why people have said that burning, it seems like the worst thing ever, but like within a minute you'll be passed out. But a minute is pretty long to be burning.
It's just because the feeling of when you get burnt hurts like a motherfucker. Like when you ever burn yourself on anything, shit hurt like a motherfucker, and it doesn't go away. You feel it stings, forever.
But but you're getting burnt, and then you stop. You remove the heat from your finger. If the heat stays on your finger, we don't know what that feels like.
I don't think it feels good.
I know it don't feel good, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think the worst ones to go were the ones where you. I seen a picture of like fucking the what is it called? Fuck, not the what? There's the medieval days. The medieval days where I seen a picture of they would hang somebody, and they would put like a spear or some shit in your ass.
Oh yeah.
And like over time, it would like how would they do that? Like,
they were so skilled. The people who would perform these, it's an execution, right? They were so skilled. They would get a spear, and they would know. Like they would shove it through your ass, and they would know how to navigate to not hit your vital organs, right? And that's hella crazy. And they would put it through, and then they would put the spear out your mouth. And it was like, I don't remember. I think they would just let you die there slowly, and that's how they did it. But that's hella crazy. And the medieval shit, there's hella ways that they used to kill people, like torturous ways. There's a famous bull. Have you ever heard of the bull? The Iron Bull, I think it's called.
Oh yeah.
Where they it was like a metal bull or an iron. Nice. And there would be like a door to get in, and they would put the person in there, and then they would close it and then burn them, and his screams would like echo inside of it, and it would come out the nose of the bull, and it would make it sound like it was a bull, like making the noise. And from what I heard, when I read upon that, the person who made the bull, right? I forgot who he made it for. He made it for a certain person. I don't remember who he was. The first person who went into that bull was the person who created it, who designed it. And because they were like, we need to test it. And the person he made it for was that cruel that he's like, we're testing it on you. It's your shit. And they put him in there and they burned him. And I'm like,
but
that's fucked up.
You're not on fire, huh? It's like a metal container.
Yeah, it's like a metal container.
It's like a life-size bull container.
Yeah, it's like made of just pure metal, and then they put like a fire underneath it, and they just heat that motherfucker up. That's hella bad.
Yeah,
that shit's probably sucks. There was other things too, like there was a chair that you would sit down on, and there was like a clamp with a clamp. And it would like go on the back of your head and the front of your head, and they would just twist it. And they had like a certain point too. So it would just go into your head like that.
So it's like a freaking...
Yeah, they would tie you.
For like champagne or like wine or whatever that shit
Yeah, but it was big. Like it was almost like a steering wheel, but it was just like a bar. And it would almost like a clamp. You know how the clamps, you do that? Like exactly like that, just bigger. And you would sit on there, and they would tie you, and they would just twist that shit. And that would be a way to kill you. I looked up like a bunch of methods, but there's a bunch of crazy ways to die. Thank you for listening to the AB podcast. You can follow us in the links below. All our social medias are linked there. If you want to buy some merch, the merch that we're usually wearing in the podcast, you can buy it as well. The link will be below.